Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share with you guys my final thoughts on the Kubey Knives Hound. This is a collaborative design with Max. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, if that is actually his last name, but besides that kind of stuff, this particular model, at least during the time of recording, is $56 on White Mountain Knives. That's pretty sweet. There is a lot of knife here. There's a lot to go over. Not a whole lot, but a good bit to go over. A lot of good, a little bit of bad. There are 7 different colorways, and the ones that are not, there are actually 2 variations that don't have black blades, and I think those might actually interest some people a little bit more, only because one single little issue I have with this knife. Now, something I didn't really go over or didn't really pay much attention to was the solidity of the execution of their crossbar style lock here. Now, the up and down is elite. It's freaking beautiful, which honestly, it's kind of a difficult thing for a lot of companies to get right when it comes to the overall up and down play. There's a little bit of, give sometimes. This, nothing. But unfortunately, side to side, yeah, I feel it a little bit. And another little factor here that I completely missed on my unboxing, which is why it's important to watch the full review videos. It's insane. I'll look at my view count for unboxings versus the review, and it's like half or maybe a third. To each their own. Maybe my content in longer form isn't as appealing as shorter form content of a unboxing, because it's quick, a little bit fast. People just want to see what other people are buying, right? Want to see what other people are spending their hard-earned money on. And the thoughts at the end of it all, people are just willing to make them up on their own. That's completely okay, right? But through actually using this, sharpening it, taking it apart multiple times, and basic everyday carry with this, I have learned to love and also accept a handful of little things, and learn as well as through the whole process. I learned that there are washers within the pivot. That's not something you see at this price point, and honestly, that was very unexpected, especially for what this thing looks like. It looks kind of like a modern tactical-ish kind of sci-fi looking thing, right? A little bit here and there, maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but this looks a little aggressive, right? It has, it has that vibe to it, and that's okay. I would think that there would be bearings within the pivot system, and it is completely possible to do a crossbar lock with bearings in the pivot. I have actually 2 examples in my size comparison knives that I'll show off in a second here. But because this has washers, to get good, comfortable action where you are gonna have to use a little bit of wrist, to get it out and get it back in, there is a little bit of side to side, and it's about as comparable as, at least my experiences with the Benchmade flagship models. I used to have a Benchmade Bug Out and a Osborne 940. The Osborne 940 had had Benchmade standard coating, and to run that thing with a comfortable action for me, I had to have it with the tiniest bit of side to side. This is what I would say is similar, if not a little bit more than that side to side. So realistically, it kind of bugs me that I have experienced things with 0 side to side, but still buttery smooth action. But I'm talking like multi-$100 US production stuff. This is like 50-60 bucks. So I have to dial back my expectations. I just think that it's important to share that with you guys up front. So besides all that, that was really like the only like major negative thing that I had about this, is that this isn't going to be super drop shutty and fidgety and crazy like you may have thought it was going to be. And to my surprise, I still enjoy it because I like the fidgety and fall shutty kind of stuff at this moment in time. So whatever. Let's start with some size comparison knives. Finally, freaking almost 5 minutes into it. We'll start with some large ones here. This is the Microtech MSI. Beneath we have the Manix 2 Lightweight. So you can see this guy is actually smaller than both of them in overall length. Let's do some mediums. This is the Vision FG, which is damn near the same overall length, pretty close, different blade shape of course. Here we have the CMB Made Knives Predator, which is close, but the Predator is actually a hair bit shorter overall. And definitely not last. Well, not last, but what is it saying? Most definitely not last. Last but not least, the Free Tiger model FT2103 Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight. So these are definitely a lot shorter in overall length. Now we could actually reference the Native 5 for thickness, because this guy isn't super thick in hand and it felt quite reminiscent of the Native 5, the lightweight variation. I think the G10 and the G10 with liners might be similar. It's damn near the same, so it's not noticeably thin or noticeably thick in hand. I think it's well rounded, definitely. Now when it comes to the scales themselves, they are flat here, but there are some, I wouldn't say super aggressive, but well placed, well designed chamfers on the G10. And again, different colorways available. You don't have to get this one. This is just the one that I chose because I like how it looks, a little bit of pop of color, right? So you also have a black G10 backspacer, which is cool. I mean, I think it would have been appropriate to have the same color material, but not the end of the world, not a big deal. Another thing that I absolutely appreciate about the execution of this particular blade is that while it is a very lengthy trailing drop point thing, it has a good bit of a flat here and a very slow to rise tip there. So the tip is just a little bit above, centered with the pivot. Utility cuts are honestly still pretty darn good with this. I've enjoyed this quite a bit in the workplace, and I honestly gravitate towards more things like the Vision FG, for example, because of the blade shape. It's just a little bit more utilitarian based, but realistically, this tip wasn't too difficult to get at, so I do definitely appreciate that. But another thing that I do love as well is they push their plunge grind. It's a little harder to see because of the black coating, and it kind of dulls everything out. And so it's a PVD with a tumble over it, or a stone wash, so there are little nicks and scratches all over it. It was completely intentional, right? That's the look. But their plunge grind execution, freaking sweet. I love it. I actually have sharpened this once already. I obliterated the blade and freaking dropped it a couple times, so there's a couple chips and stuff near the first inch by the tip, and I need to resharpen it again. So this isn't a super fresh edge. It's an edge that could still definitely do plenty of damage, but it's not to where I'd prefer to leave it alone like that. Like this, to me, this definitely needs to be resharpened like ASAP. So this is on the emergency list of maintenance coming up for a day that I could set aside and actually sharpen a handful of things out of my collection. But just take a look at that. I mean, I put like a 17 or 18 degree edge on that, and just check out how flat that stayed. That's freaking beautiful. I can't even begin to count how many manufacturers suck at doing that. Kubey, I mean, I doubt you guys are even watching it or anybody affiliated with Kubey, but that is freaking just thumbs up. That is awesome right there. I love that because I'm able to put a very slicey and aggressive edge on this without it looking absolutely atrocious back here. And again, not a lot of people care about that kind of stuff, but from a user and actual sharpener standpoint, that's important. That definitely keeps things looking good for as long excuse me, I'm still going through maturity, so my voice is cracking at 25 years old. That's definitely something that I absolutely appreciate that they did on the execution of that. So the way that they did that, executed the blade, also the hardness on this, if I didn't mention already, this is 14C28N, which is a wonderful budget blade material. Damn near a super budget steel. For what it is, all the properties that it has, and it's great that it has a coating, so it's even more corrosion resistant, which is not something I typically worry about with uncoated 14C28N, but it's just a little nice little thing right there. This thing was hard, like hard. Like, I don't know the exact HRC of what this is. Of course, on Kubi's website and White Mountain Knives, I'll be linking both of them down because you can buy them from both spots. This has got to be on the higher side of the range, because this thing was an absolute bitch to sharpen. And I mean that in the best way possible. This steel is hard, like it is hard. It was great. I had a good time sharpening it, and once I got the results that I was content with, I was ready to just go to town with this thing. I busted down a bunch of boxes here at home in the garage, took it to work a handful of times, and it's been a good time. I've also taken it apart and cleaned out the the washer system a handful of times just to smoothen things out. In between all that going on, I did go and take my strop to the washers as well, to just help hasten the process overall. So it's been a good time with this thing for sure. Now we can talk about some of the other little details here. K on the pivot, that's cool. Some people will say, and I don't know how true this is or how accurate this is, but I've seen like 3 different pivot designs from Kubi. I don't know if this specifically signifies like their budget line or premium one. I think it may just be per design. I don't really think it means a whole lot, but some people have speculated that the different pivot logos, if it's KB or just K, that it may signify something else of value. T8 everywhere except for the pocket clip, and this is where it gets kind of shitty. This pocket clip, while it is a wonderful experience in and out of the pocket, this is a fully ambidextrous style locking mechanism, and the design is very symmetrical on both sides, right? There's no mounting position for lefties, and being a right-handed person who on average probably wouldn't really give a shit. I mean, this isn't a super high-end knife. It would have been completely okay to put, and there would be no milling involved, right? Because the clip sits right on top of the G10 here. Would have been completely fine and out of the way to execute the same pocket clip position and style and shape. Or actually, the shape would have to change because it kind of follows the curve here, so they may have had to include an extra clip. How about this? Maybe just design a completely different clip, something that's a little bit symmetrical. I'd be willing to throw out some sketches there as well if it would ever actually make a difference, but I know it won't. So yeah, maybe if an extra clip was included, that would have been really cool. That should be an option. Maybe if it was an extra like $5-6, and as a right-handed person, if you had to pay for that, so freaking what? If you're already justifying, like a $50-60 knife, I'm sure your life won't come to a screeching halt for an extra couple bucks just to include a lefty pocket clip, because realistically this thing is just as comfortable and is good to use for lefties as well, and I think that they should be able to enjoy it. That's just my opinion, right? But as a right-handed dominant individual, I will say that for how this thing is set up currently, it's very comfortable. I have 0 issues with any grip. And a funny thing is too, is that the way that this is shaped, and you guys are hardly ever gonna see me do this gas station knife fighting grip, Slurpee Saver grip. Shout out to Lefty EDC, Kev over there. This is somehow more comfortable like this than in a standard grip right here, which you guys will never see me do that again ever, because it's really fucking cringy. But for some reason, the way that this blade shape is shaped, how the end here is, there is some jimping of that proud G10 spacer there. and it just feels right. Like, I feel like I could save all the Slurpees in the world like this for sure. So that's just, that's something there too that I thought was worth mentioning. There's just holes freaking galore. That's just how it is. That's the style. No, there are not variations that do not have holes. Unfortunately, it's just, again, the design overall. It is, keeping it a little bit lighter weight. We can go ahead and actually take the weight. Freaking 15.5 minutes in. I do this on my unboxings as well, so similar information is going to be in there. 3.6, honestly, nothing to really write home about, at this overall size and, profile and all that. I already talked about the hardware, crossbar lock, pivot system, G10. Is this a safe model? Can you pick out that tip? If you had longer nails, maybe a little bit, but no, the tip is tucked away quite well. I do enjoy that quite a bit. The studs, they're big. They're very big, well-rounded, and jimped, very comfortable studs. The rollout on this is extremely comfortable. To flick it, you have plenty of surface area as well. I do have to give a little bit of wrist, and it is a little sketchy under my camera here, my phone here, but that's just kind of how I operate this knife. I have to have it at a certain tightness within the pivot to keep the centering and to keep enough fidgetability, but also side to side stability that I have to just accept. So that's one thing as well. The Kubi there, I could do without it. The Max here, maybe it could have been placed somewhere else. I'm not sure where, but it's not the end of the world realistically. The overall thickness of the blade itself feels maybe a little thinner than average, and it definitely narrows out towards the tip right there. That is very, very thin and dainty there. But because of how it's shaped, there's also a swedge here. I'd say that has some decent stability, but I wouldn't go as far as stabbing and prying. Maybe just stabbing, but no prying. So thickness behind the edge, I will say it's a little thicker than average, and I'm kind of surprised because there is plenty of material here to remove to allow it to be a little thinner behind the edge. That's all right. Because of how they executed the plunge grind here, it's still plenty thin enough to put a good slicey edge on there, and you should be just fine. So that is pretty much it. Do I recommend this? If you like how it looks and you're okay with washers in the pivot system, yes, absolutely. This thing is a winner in my book. A little bit of jimping right here, feels good, definitely. This grip here, pinch grip there, Slurpee saver right there. It just all feels good. It looks a little weird. It looks like just a folding hotspot, but realistically it's not. At least for me it isn't. I have large to extra large size hands but slim fingers, so nothing really feels too out of place for me, honestly. The execution of the crossbar lock, it is excellent. The lockup up and down play at least is elite. And another thing too that I may have forgot to mention already is that there are actually 3 holes for adjustment of the tension of the Omega springs. So I have it in the middle, and I think it is plenty healthy. Let me actually loosen up the pivot a second just to show you how the tension is on these springs. I think it's quite healthy, honestly. So right about there is when it starts to build that resistance. Upside down. Yeah, no floppy here. That's some good factory high tension Omega springs. That's freaking sweet. I love that. But even though it's nice and loose now, and I can do all that, it's not a good idea to run something like this that loose. So I'm gonna go ahead, tighten it back up, and honestly, it's probably still breaking in realistically. I've had it for like 3 weeks now. I've taken it apart 3, maybe 4 times to clean it, and it's just taking a long time, and I blame the coating on it. But that, of course, is I wanted the one with the coating on it because I like how it looked. So chances are If you want something like this, but you want it to be a little bit smoother, maybe the side-to-side play is something that kind of sketches you out a little bit, try your luck with one of the uncoated ones. Chances are your experience is going to be a lot smoother than mine, which is, you know, completely okay. But that's pretty much it. I think this is awesome. This is here to stay in the collection. This is definitely plenty of knife for the money. Absolutely. I think it's well executed for the most part. Maybe just a couple little design things here and there that are a little bit questionable, but yeah, that's about it. If you guys like this video, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because I put more videos and content coming your guys' way. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.